Success, folks. So this bok choy got eaten completely down, and this one was taking a big hit. My chard right next to it is looking fine with a little bit of nibbles going on. But guess who I found today? I put down a piece of wood and I found slug. And that is what I need to do. I have got to get pieces of wood at all of these bed ends by the bok choy. Underneath the insect netting, there is all of these flies that seem to have just hatched out of the ground, right? All over my bok choy. And there are all these little gnats. Who are these guys? So I thought I'd just try and get them out of there. So I pulled the row cover off of everything. Wouldn't hurt to have a little bit of bird action eating some of those things, as long as I don't have the scratchers kicking, my newly germinated carrots and spinach and stuff like that. I'm starting to feel like I'm just behind schedule. I've got my transplants of 2 beds of kale and 1 bed of chard. And I interseeded some dwarf white clover, and I'm starting to see some germination in here. In this 2.5 beds of carrots, I'm gonna go ahead and go through with my little wire hoe. These 2 aren't too bad for weed pressure, but this one is really bad. I mean, I can't even tell where the carrots are hardly. The weeds are doing way better. All right, so I got the kale and chard recovered. I really need to get my wire hoops cut and bent so I can drape the cover over that. I weeded the carrot beds. I'm not 100% sure that I didn't just bury the carrots. Kind of depressing to look at. I'm gonna go ahead and hit the sides with a hoe, and then I'm going to also hoe the lettuce bed real quick. I need to think about prepping these last 3 beds because I've got a second succession of lettuce starts that are ready to go out, and the starts over there, I've got green onions and parsley that have been needing to go out for weeks. So yeah. Alrighty. I'm gonna leave the row cover off the lettuce tonight. How bad could it be, right? I had a really accomplished day today. I captured a slug. I released a bunch of bugs for the birds. I swizzled a bunch of soil around. I drug the row cover on and off and spent hours just dragging the row cover around. The lettuce survived the night, and the bok choy didn't get nibbled or anything. And I'm just seeing little juncos out here, but they mostly peck and don't really scratch so much. I am putting up the trellis finally for cucumbers. Okay. If I do level, it'll be like level with the ground, and this thing's not level with the ground. So I think I'm just going to make it even. So pulling this take straight down to the top, which is 3 feet 7 inches to the top of that, and just do the same thing here. I'm just using these lengths of 1x2, and I pre-drilled the hole all the way through, and then I'm using this screw that will drill into metal, and 1.5 inches. Alrighty, so it's all done. It's a little bit goofy, but I didn't want to try and get 2 screws into the same rib. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and put some strings on and plant these cucumbers in. There's 6 of them. I watered them in really good today, but they're so tall. I don't think they're gonna make it, but I'm gonna give them a fighting chance. So what I did last year is I made kind of a trough around like that. So the water would drip in there and not goofball up his stem. So that's kind of how we'll do it, I guess. And so I just need to dig down in here. Benny from Norway did this with her brassicas. Put some water in the bottom. So I'm just going to put a little room temperature water, not room temperature, outdoor temperature water in there. I'm going to take this pot off because I don't really trust that it's going to break down. Okay, that's exposed enough of his roots. And if I put him down, that should be about perfect. So let's just put the soil around him. And we'll just kind of tuck him in just a little bit there. Buddy, I hope you make it. But I'm not promising anything. Okay, there we go. So you can climb up that, okay? Outdoor temperature is 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Temperature in here in the shade is about 75 Fahrenheit. I'm sure it's much warmer right here. Okay, so we got all our little guys in place. And I might try and set up some sort of cover for them tonight. Last night was 39. But it's supposed to be like mid-40s tonight. Okay, so I wanted to get that done. Greenhouse looks kind of silly with a little wood strip across it. Yeah, because we've got like tomorrow, the next day is supposed to be sunny, or tomorrow, at least tomorrow, and then it's supposed to get cloudy, and then it's supposed to rain. So if those cucumbers have any chance at all, now's the time. I don't know. I'm just getting nervous because only one of my cucumbers have sprouted out of the new batch. And they're like a number of days late germinating, you know, compared to how they usually do. So I was just pretty bummed last night, just like too many cruddy things, but I've tried to improve my attitude today. I've got to get these last 3 beds prepped. These 2 beds right here had kale in them, so I'm going to chop off their little wooden stems. And then I'm just going to do like I did the lettuce bed, and I'm going to throw seaweed from the pathway onto the beds. Now this last one here is kind of a freaky little bed. Nothing's really been done to it. I planted sugar snap peas into it, and you know they can kind of grow in anything, so it didn't matter. So I kind of need to kind of trench along some seaweed, some rotted seaweed. Oakley dokley, so we have one pathway, and now I just need to make this other one. Alrighty, so 2 pathways done. Just need to rake these guys out. It's kind of hard to tell the difference between what was dirt and what was seaweed. So hopefully that's a good thing. I think I'm going to try and prep this bed starting tomorrow because I need to take the time to make a little nest for my cucumbers in the greenhouse and move all the starts back into the greenhouses for the night. Oakley dokley, so I finished prepping that last bed, threw some seaweed underneath and then put soil on top. I ended up pulling the seaweed from these 2 bins here. Just kind of scraping the top off. And then I raked the 3 beds out, and I'm ready to plant out in those. Got a couple little juncos out there, but they're not causing any grief. I've seen a robin or 2, but no migrating birds. So I pulled the row cover this morning off the seeded beds here where I've got half bed carrot, beet, baby chard spinach, because I'm feeling like it's gonna be okay. So tomorrow I'm gonna plant out. The rest of the day I gotta run around and do some things. So, well, this is not the mostly cloudy day that they forecast. It is mostly a blue sky. And so not the best day for planting, but I'm just gonna do it anyway. I've got my starts over here in the shade, and I'm gonna kind of, rather than putting the plugs out where they're supposed to get planted, I'm just gonna plant them out kind of individually, pull them from the shade. Okay, so they're all planted. Kind of hard to see because they're so little. And whoa, got some extras because I planted too many. I learned, so this is the second succession, and my third succession I planted fewer. But this is the perlite experiment, and so I kind of fiddled, you know, with some of them, trying to save them. And so I've got some greens that didn't come through and a couple of reds, and that was just because I was fiddling with them, because actually it worked pretty good, although folks were saying use vermiculite, so I'll try that the next time. And that's for just once I've seeded them, you know, putting a little bit of vermiculite on the top to, you know, keep them moist, and then the seeds can easily germinate through that. Anyway, yeah, even with the perlite it worked out okay. And these soil blocks I watered yesterday, so they're pretty moist, and but the soil in here is pretty dry, so I don't know if I may come out tomorrow early and water these guys in. I don't know if it rains. If it rains a lot tonight and tomorrow, then I'll maybe not, but yeah. Okay, so now we're getting some overcast, which is nice. I'm at the end of the garden here with the garlic, and I've got my 2 tubs of green onions, 2 tubs of sad looking leeks. Oh, so little. And my parsley, curly and Italian, that all of these could have been planted out weeks ago, but I just didn't have a chance. I think I'm gonna do something fiddly this year because the parsley overwinters. I think I'm gonna plant it amongst the garlic, which I'm gonna harvest the garlic this year. So then it'll just be parsley here as far as they go out here. And then I'm gonna plant the leeks because they probably won't be ready this year, and they might overwinter if I mulch them. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put down the first planting of green onions, because I should have multiple plantings of green onions. So that's the plan. Parsley at the far end, leeks, green onions. I planted the green onions, you know, 3 per square, and same thing with the leeks. Such little guys. Oh my goodness. Are they gonna even make it? And this is the Italian parsley, and the curly parsley is in between the leeks. There's a little junco. Oh, just missed him. And I watered everything in because the plugs were dry and the soil was very dry. So I just got this one empty bed here, and that's for the 3rd succession of lettuces, which I've got going. I've got the cucumbers in the greenhouse covered with Agribon, and they're still alive. I'm gonna leave everything uncovered out here except for the kale and the chard. All right, so last minute before it rains, I decided to put up the hoops so I can put the row cover over it before it gets to be kind of a muddy mess, sopping row cover situation. And so I'm using this 9-gauge wire that Tyler cut up into 6-foot lengths for me. And the row cover itself is 6 feet. So I'm going down on each side about 6 inches into the ground. And then that gives me enough room with the row cover to kind of roll some rocks to weigh it down a little bit. This would not hold up in a wind, but it's fine. And before I get the row cover on, I've been using the little collinear hoe to hit the bed sides because I've got some like horsetail and other things coming up, so I want to kind of get on top of that. So I've just got these 2 kale beds to do. All right, so I've got 10 hoops on this kale bed. I just paced off 5 of my feet for about 5 feet distance. Now I'm going to throw the cover over. These covers are for the root maggot fly, but also later in the season I end up getting those cutworms, and so I'd like to see if this doesn't help with that. Now once the kale gets more mature, I think they might be a little bit too tall for these hoops, so I don't know how that's going to work. I gotta think about that because my row cover is just, it's 6 feet wide, so that's all the taller I can go. So I took a minute. I actually only just saw, as I was peeking under, 3 kales. They are really hit bad by slugs. So I went out and got, you know, a little piece of wet log, and so I can check in a few days and see if he's hiding under there during the day. Okay, so I've got that all tidied up, and I moved the potatoes from outside into this compost bin because they're in these trays and I didn't want them to get waterlogged. These are my German butter balls, and these all should have gone out like a month and a half ago or something. But there's the potato patch. I hear that I'm getting my geotextile maybe in the next few days, so I'll be able to get to that, throw down the geotextile, put some seaweed on it, and plant the potatoes into that. And yesterday I put some chamomile seed in amongst the raspberries. This is a raspberry patch, and so that'll be cool. Raspberry patch, potato patch. Cucumbers are still alive. I've been putting them underneath blankets every night because it's been in the mid-40s. But I think they might make it, you guys.